call to order tonight's regular
Recording
session
in progress.
meeting. Today is Tuesday, December 7th. Due to the, those attending tonight's meeting should be aware that the meeting is being audio and video recorded by APAC and ASRSD. Any audience member who wishes to record any part of the meeting must inform the chair, who will announce the recording. This is to comply with the Mass Wiretap statute. The listing of matters are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. So again, I'll call to order the meeting at 6:36, and if everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Madam Chair, watch your drink.
Oh, thank you. Wow. Like a, thank you, Phil. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Michelle, will you call the roll for us, please?
Mrs. Greenberg.
Here.
Mr. Quincy. Mrs. Reshoots.
Here.
Mr. Ruprecht.
Here.
Mrs. Simmons. Ms. Span.
Here. All right. So we have our high school representative, Miss Alicia Town, here with us tonight. What's going on at the high school, Alicia?
All right, a few things. We just passed that we won't have midterms or finals this year, which is exciting for me.
Can you expound on that a little bit? You're free, just done. You're done.
Yeah,
The year's over, you're done. No
They're not
finals.
done. They have term. It's like exams.
no, yeah, just no like formal exam. Teachers can still choose to do sort of like a project-based thing in class, but it has to be within like the 79-minute period. But they said that probably it's not a good idea this year. Other than that, we have winter sports starting up. Indoor track and basketball. Basketball has practices, and they have scrimmages this week. I think a few. So that's exciting. The senior class actually has a fundraiser going on starting this week and next week. We're selling holiday candygrams at lunches to earn some money for prom and for senior activities at the end of the year. So that's very exciting. And we're actually finishing up our planning of prom. We picked a date and place.
Bless you.
It's going to be outdoors at Wachusett in the beginning of June. And I believe we allowed for outside guests to attend since it will be outside in like a tented area. So now we're just planning on a theme and we're looking at some DJs.
Nice.
So
What's the date? Can you divulge?
I believe it's June 1st, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I
So is that
know-
before graduation? Because it
I
would be
think
before.
so, yeah.
Okay.
Or, yeah. Yeah.
Not that it matters, I just need to plan my schedule, you know.
I know it's a weekday. I believe it's a weekday, either Wednesday or Thursday. But yeah, junior, senior prom, and outside guests.
Great. I'll make a hair appointment right now.
I know.
Do you have any idea, when you talked about winter sports, about spectators, and actually maybe someone else on the, would be able to, are spectators allowed, if do they have to be masked? Do you know any of that?
So I went to the basketball scrimmage that was here last night, and as far as I know, it's the same as it was for volleyball, just wear masks and no food or drink in the gym.
Good.
So
That's good. I know there's been some question on listservs about what other districts were doing with sports and stuff. And are the athletes masked?
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anybody have any questions? Alicia, I didn't mean to cut you off. Are you done?
No, yeah.
Oh, anybody? Yeah, so maybe Dr. Meyer can expand on midterm and final situation, but, because I did get your letter and I did read it, but I wouldn't want to paraphrase and get it wrong. But, so they're just not going to have exams, but the teacher can elect to do something similar if they choose.
Yes, and some teachers have expressed that they, sorry.
You can go to the podium, you know.
Some teachers have expressed that they would like to do some kind of exam, so they are going to, as Alicia said, do that during the 79-minute block at some point prior to the exam week, the actual exam week. All the teachers had identified that they don't want, especially during finals time, the classic finals time, they didn't want that to be the last interaction that they had with their students, that they'd like to end on a more positive and fun note. So, so everyone, that was unanimous for that.
So that's for all, like even the seniors that have an earlier finals, they still wouldn't have.
Yeah, they wouldn't have their finals, they would do some kind of exam during the week prior.
Perfect. I like it. Good. Thank you.
Thank
I didn't
you.
mean to put you on the spot, but
Thank you.
I know Joyce was questioning why there was no exams. All right, anybody else, any questions for Alicia? Thank you very much for the update. It's
Thank
good
you.
to see some normal things coming out of the high school and prom being planned and all that, so
I know, finally, it's
Yeah.
very exciting.
good luck with
I
the
can
plan.
finally use my dress that I bought a while ago.
We'll be
Oh.
getting a new dress.
Well, that's what I've heard. I want a new one.
Yeah, maybe.
Thank
The other one
you.
was last year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to public comment. Do you see anybody? I'm going to give it about 30 seconds. If anyone would like to speak, if they could put their name in the chat and you will be admitted. Name and town, I guess, we need in the chat. All right. Couple more. Bye, thank you. Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you.
All right, so nobody? Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to our consent agenda, which tonight will include the November 17th, 2021 regular session minutes for release and the warrant memo. Tonight's warrant memo is dated December 6th. It includes accounts payable warrant 1077 dated November 12th, 2021 for $2,047.13. Accounts payable warrant 1078 dated October 12th, 2021 for $1,163,004.36. And accounts payable warrant 1085 dated October 26th, 2021 for $575,402.68. As well as payroll warrant 10.1 dated November 10th, 2021 for $5,660.09. Payroll warrant 11 dated November 19th, 2021 for $759,624.35. And payroll warrant 11.1 dated November 19th, 2021 for $42,160.
Madam Chair,
Yeah,
I'd like to note that they're labeled, the last two warrants are labeled incorrectly.
okay.
11 is actually the regular payroll, and the fall coaching stipends are 11.1.
Okay, I was going to say, geez, we have really bumped up our salaries.
Lots of coaches.
Yeah. Well, they are doing an excellent job and deserve to be compensated, but that might be a little too much. Okay, so I will entertain a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
I would make a motion to approve, Madam Chair, but if I could put a note into that, if some people could get to the office and put some signatures on some of these, we're a little behind. So that would be very, very helpful if someone can make it sometime. And I can give you some secrets for going that no one's there, if you need to.
So really quickly bringing that up, in the MASC conference we had, there was supposed to be a change to where only one school committee member needed to sign the warrant. So is it that we have a lot that have no signatures, or do we have them where there's only one?
No, there's two on most of them.
Yeah.
But maybe that's old to have three, but it is a good way to inform yourself as to what's happening.
Well, I think it probably would make sense if there is an option for one, if maybe we were to have that as a threshold, and then other people could go and look and sign, but at least one would allow the business office to get their business done. I mean, I don't know, I know you mentioned that, and it's definitely something we should look into, because
So the Modernization Act did allow for one person from the school committee to sign the warrants, and that's sufficient. So as long as we have the superintendent, myself, and then at least one school committee member. It's always better to have more, but
Right.
one is all that's required.
Yeah,
Do we
I was
have-
concerned about us being able to work done.
Do we have a policy on that? Didn't we do something?
I would have to check.
Yeah, I'd have to check too.
we should look into that,
I'll check the
because if
policy.
there's any action we need to take in order for one person to have authority as opposed to the three that we've been doing, we should do
I
that.
think you just designate the person, is what, I remember the language from that act,
Okay.
but I'll check on that.
And then I know that historically this was discussed more than once, but and if there is a policy, I think it needs to be indicated that for your information, you can go and see it anytime.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not closed, you can ask for that information, right?
Yeah, even if, as a practice, we were to have just one
Right.
person that's required, but if Lisa could still send the email to everybody and, you know, have it available for however many days, if anyone wants to go up and look, they could do that, but at least that one person could sign, and Lisa's not chasing people.
I just didn't want to inhibit workflow, that was all.
Yeah, no, I think that's
It still
absolutely.
gets entered and everything, it's just, it still gets entered, I mean, the payroll warrants are still here. People are being paid, the bills are being paid, right?
Well, Lisa's holding the checks until there's 3 signatures.
It's exactly,
Right.
yeah, and that, I mean, that doesn't make any
Doesn't have
sense.
to.
Yeah,
Right.
Really.
Madam Chair.
yes.
School committee policy DGA is the one on authorized signatures, which states school committee or a subcommittee of no less than 3 members is required to approve payrolls and bill warrants.
Okay, so we'd have to modify that
We
policy.
have to introduce that. I
Okay.
thought so. I thought it was-
Well, I think
Thank you.
especially this year, and it's tough when you've got people that work jobs that are till 5 o'clock for them to get up there, and I think especially this year, we're seeing an issue with that. So it's definitely something I think we should look into, so that we're not holding up the business office.
What were the letters on that policy?
D as in David, G as in George, A as in Addison.
DA.
Thank you for your quick
Sure.
investigation. All right, so you finished, did you finish the motion? I didn't.
I made a motion with a second. I made a motion with a second.
Okay.
Okay, second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, so we'll move on to new business, which tonight has the fiscal year '23 budget discussion / capital projects. We have Dr. Renda joining us virtually. Good evening, Dr. Renda and Mr.
Good
Wong.
evening. I appreciate you being okay with me being virtual. It was really in everyone's best interest that I'm home tonight. I'm not feeling well, I've been battling something for a little bit, and just as Charlie had said earlier, you really need to model what we want our faculty and other admins to do, so I'm trying to do that. So as far as budget discussions, not much to report tonight. Tomorrow we'll be meeting with building principals and department heads to begin the needs-based assessment for the budget. We are hoping that they will be able to complete that before winter break so that we can start going through that and prioritizing. But that is it so far on the budget discussion.
Madam Chair, as far as capital, the second piece of that agenda item, I just wanted to notify the committee that we would like to go forward with finishing off the steam loop conversion at the Page Hilltop. As you know, we just completed the plumbing project for the second and third grade classrooms. We did 16 rooms, converting them over to the hot water loop and 2 new boilers at the Hilltop. So we still have the central office, the business office, the cafeteria, and the kitchen area are still on the steam loop. And it's basically unregulated, it's either on or off, and it is just antiquated and needs to go. We'd like to decommission that boiler down, the lower boiler, and convert the rest of that building over to the hot water. So we're anticipating $30,000 for the design, for the engineering, and then we're estimating about $150,000 for the remainder of the project. It's a lot smaller scale than what we did this year, but it will finish off the building, and we'll be able to get rid of that second oil-fired boiler. And we will encumber money from the general fund, like we did this year, to pay for the completion of that boiler project in the second and third grade classrooms. And we can also use building rental. We won't have to use capital stabilization at all. We'll save that, because we do have some money earmarked in that for the field project. So we won't touch that, but we'll use building rental if we have to go into a revolving fund. So we're thinking about $150,000 plus or minus 20 grand either side. So and we'll go out to bid for that this spring.
That's just what I was going to ask. So you're scheduling that to start this this spring and
Yeah,
let it just flow this winter.
we'll have the work be done during the summer again.
And was from, should we call it phase 1, phase 2?
Yeah,
Instead of keep listing all the.
phase 2
So-
and the final
So
one.
this is phase 2 essentially, right? Phase 1, when will that be closed out?
We're just finishing off the punch list. There's 2 more items on the punch list, and we have a 5% retainage that we're holding. It's about 30 grand. We haven't paid that yet.
Okay,
So they're coming out to finish off those items this week. And we also have the 20,000 from the rebate we got for the new boilers. So we can use that for the remainder of the project as well,
so we can use that for the remainder of the project or for phase 2?
or phase 2.
Phase 2, okay. So that's why I was thinking there was some money that
Yeah.
was not quite used up that would
Yeah.
roll over
Yeah.
and stay in that general capacity.
Yeah, for, switching to the fuel efficient gas boilers, we've got 10,000 per boiler.
And how has it been operating, the new,
Oh, it is so nice.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. The old steam loop went through the slabs. If you got a leak, you have to jackhammer the concrete slabs. It was loud, and the leaks were unbelievable. We had a crawl space, and that's where all the leaks would be. You'd have to go down to the crawl space and fix the leak, so.
not enough money in the world?
We've been battling this for years. It's time.
So the temperature's been comfortable,
Actually, pretty steamy in there. It's like I said, it's either on or off.
yeah.
So if you leave it on, if we leave it on over the weekend, when you come in, it's like a sauna. It really is.
So we need a resident weatherman to predict what it's going to be so that we can.
So what are you supposed to run it constantly? Or are you supposed to be shutting it off, turning it on? Like, what's the,
Well,
like,
there's pneumatic controls that are supposed to tell it when it's calling for heat, but they're not functioning.
okay, so
They're
that's
so
on the
old.
punch list?
As we convert to hot water, those pneumatics go away.
Oh,
So all the new units will have electronic thermostats.
okay,
And that's what we did in the 2nd and 3rd grade classrooms.
okay, yeah, that's what I mean, so that's working well.
Yes.
That's not the sauna.
The 2 boilers up the hilltop, they run alternately. So one is running to do the whole building. And if it's unoccupied, they program it so it goes down to a certain set point, so it'll go down like to 65 or 62. And then when it's school hours, it'll go up to the occupied temperature.
Okay,
So it's really nice.
good,
It's
yeah.
got a program, you can program it from home and everything. Bob can turn on rooms and stuff. So it's really nice.
Just, that's excellent. All right. Any other questions? Wanna move on? Okay. So thank you for that. We'll expect to hear more about the budget as we move in the next few meetings. And so we'll move on to the superintendent's report, Dr. Renda. Sorry to hear you're not feeling well, Dr. Renda.
Well, thank you. Working on it. So this is a pretty brief report for this meeting. Our infection rates in the air are up considerably to 54.7, and in Shirley it is 22.6, and that is per 100,000. Those have both doubled, at least doubled, since the last time we reported out at the last school committee meeting. We do have some good news though. 68% of our high school is fully vaccinated, which is up about 4 percentage points. 52% of our middle school is vaccinated, 26% of Laura White, and 32% of Page Hilltop. And it's important to remember that our elementary age students are in the process of becoming vaccinated now. So these numbers are rising, and hopefully we will get to that 80% threshold. We will be hosting a COVID-19 vaccination clinic this Thursday from 3 to 6 at the middle school. This is open to anyone ages 5 to 11. They must be accompanied by a parent. You have to pre-register for this. There is a link that was sent out in the weekly update yesterday, and we will post this on social media for parents who may have either not received that email or may have deleted it a little quick. The Board of Health will not be able to accommodate walk-ins. This is only for people who pre-register. Because it is in a school, masks are required. And this is only for COVID-19 vaccine. There will be no flu vaccines at this clinic. We will also be hosting a second dose clinic on December 30th from 3 to 6 at Air Shirley at the middle school. Also, the Air Shirley Education Foundation has awarded 11 different recipients a total of $13,750 in grants to the faculty for the 2021-22 school year. Would you like to know the recipients, or I think you have that. I'd be happy to read them.
Would you please read them? I think it's important.
Sure. Matt Lutinsky at Page Hilltop received one for standing desk for students. Chad Lindstreth from the high school for cooking supplies. Phil Moore from the high school for robotics class. Kelly Spagnuolo, LAW for river classroom. Ooh, someone help me with this last name. Meredith. Marcin Kevich, thank you. From LAW for Shirley's history program. Heidi Colley for historical clothing from Page Hilltop. Patrick Doyle from the middle school for FTC robotics team. Rhonda Fitzgerald, Page Hilltop for kindergarten STEM. Ariel Richter from Page Hilltop, Underground Railroad. Laura Van Tassel from LAW, Plymouth Plantation Trip. And Bill Walter from the high school for high school robotics team. So thank you, staff members, for applying for that, and an even bigger thank you for the Air Shirley Educational Foundation for awarding these grants. These will help tremendously in all great causes. That is it for the superintendent's report, unless there are any questions.
Anybody any questions? No? Okay, thank you. So we're going to move on to ongoing business. We're going to have first the overview of the Air Shirley Regional School District Equity Audit. And I'm going to mess up the name. So Dr. Brenda, do you want to introduce the Lynch Leadership Academy?
I would be happy to. So joining us tonight is Jen Kowalsko from the Lynch Leadership Academy. She's the executive director. And Lynch will be performing the equity audit for Air Shirley, and she's here tonight to give us an overview of what that will entail.
Great. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me, and it's nice to be here and meet you virtually. I'm happy to give a brief overview. I also submitted sort of a longer, more detailed narrative that I believe you have, but I'll be sharing my screen in just a few moments, going over a few slides, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. So I just wanted to give you quickly an overview of what Lynch Leadership Academy does and who we are. Our mission is to develop a powerful and sustainable network of highly effective leaders at schools, within systems, and in communities who will disrupt inequity and dramatically increase the opportunities and outcomes for all students. We are a center at Boston College. We launched in 2010, and we are a joint venture between the Carroll School of Management and the Lynch School of Education and Human Development. We focus on coaching, professional development, and consulting for school and district leaders across Massachusetts, with a focus on equity, instructional leadership, and executive management. Some of our key sort of values and beliefs are a belief in the intellectual genius of every child, the culture of achievement, that equity happens through instruction and culture is built through the classroom, that we must have culturally sustaining practices and criticality, and that leadership is a key lever towards school improvement. And you can just see, this year we're working with over 250 leaders across Massachusetts, impacting about 70,000 students. And these are some of the communities that we are currently working in, and we're really excited to partner with the Air Shirley Regional School District on this project together. So just to give you a sense of, obviously our objective is to examine the practices and the resulting data of the district through an equity lens, and then with that data to help the district design policies and response in order to ensure access and opportunities for all students. I was able to read the anti-racism resolution you committed to last year, and I think that this equity audit will actually help allow you to effectively implement that resolution, and will also allow the district the opportunity to gather data from an even broader equity lens, taking into account multiple aspects of social identity and social justice. So this is a 7-step process. Over the next few slides, I have listed each step in the process. So we start with some entry conversations. I actually met with Dr. Renda and his team a few weeks ago to begin that conversation. We'll continue to have some additional conversations to ensure we have the contextual understanding of the district that we need. And then the next step will be school reviews. So myself and a few members of my team, and I will share who those are sort of a little bit later, we'll spend some time in each school, and we will observe classes, student interaction, adult interactions. We'll look at curricula. We have an equity-based tool that we use to examine curricula for bias and representation, multicultural, culturally responsive texts and materials. And we will also look for any evidence of family and community engagement. Many of these steps are concurrent, so we will start with the entry conversations. The next few steps we'll sort of be doing for the next several months concurrently. We'll also work with Dr. Renda and his team to get us access to system structures, policies within the district, including but not limited to evaluation, feedback, recruitment and hiring, and any equity initiatives already present in the district. And we will do a data review to examine multiple data sets, different types of data. We also have, because we're part of the university, work with our colleagues in the measurement, evaluation, statistics, and assessment department to sort of assist in this data review and ensure that it's robust and valid and reliable. We will also be gathering information from several stakeholder focus groups. So we will do both focus groups and surveys. Stakeholders include students, families, faculty and staff, community members. So we will be widely distributing surveys to each group. Again, that will be designed in collaboration with our colleagues in the measurement department. And then we will also be offering different focus groups at various times of day, hopefully to increase access for everyone. That will allow us to, using some interview protocols, again, developed in collaboration, the measurement department, to learn a little bit more about how each group of stakeholder experiences the school district. So their sense of belonging, their sense of feeling affirmed, how they perceive equity and access in the district, et cetera. We will, at the sort of end of this time period, write and submit a report of findings and recommendations, and then we'll engage in some collaborative dialogue in action planning with Dr. Renda and his team, and anyone he would like to have a more robust discussion about the findings and recommendations and begin to delineate possible action steps in response. To give you a sense of the number of team members who are working on this project, me, myself, and then some members of my team, Dr. Joseph Dolan, and then who is the Senior Director of Learning and Innovation, Indu Chagani Singh, Mona Ford Walker, and Carmen Pierre Canal are all leadership coaches. All of us are former principals or school leaders from across the state, and as I mentioned, we'll also be working with some members of the BC faculty for the data review. So on this team, there is a range of experience, K through 12, and in different types of schools, different content area expertise, and proven results across the schools. That's true for everyone on our team. And so this is the subset of our team who will be visiting and reviewing the schools and the data of your district. I am happy to answer any questions that anyone has, either from what I shared now or from the written narrative as well.
So thank you for your presentation. I'm going to open it up to the school committee members, see if anyone has any questions or comments for anyone.
I'm waiting for Chris not to disappoint.
Yeah, Chris, 3 questions, come
No,
on.
this is great. I mean, I think this all lines up with what Dr. Redna had shared going in, so I'm personally excited to see the work kick off and hear what's coming out of it. I think one thing that I am excited to see, I'm interested to see how it takes shape, is the way in which the community is engaged. I think any work dealing with systemic racism or anti-racism work needs to be something that is done with a community, not to a community. And so I think that's one thing that I'm mindful of, and I'm eager to see how that plays out, but I don't have any questions.
I think that the presentation was very thorough, and I, like Chris, am looking forward to it taking shape. And I think, as we go along, maybe, then we'll have questions, but I think that this was thorough and that it's good, and we're ready to roll.
Anyone else, Joyce?
What is the timeline? What do you foresee as being the end?
So we gathered just a very initial entry conversation a few weeks ago. Over the next week or two, we've been putting together a list of resources and data point that we might want to collect, and we'll be starting our school visits in January, and surveys and focus groups probably either at the same time as the school visits, or if those are going to be in person, or we also do want to provide some Zoom opportunities or after the school day opportunities. So I think that process, in order to give us some time at every school, will happen in January and February. The curriculum review and data review will happen concurrently, and we hope to have collected all of that, and also give us some time to do any follow-up after an initial analysis. If sometimes initial data gives us some information, but also raises more questions. So we'll be doing an initial analysis in March, and then plan on having our sort of final written report and collaborative discussion with Dr. Renda and anyone else who'd like to join us towards the end of April.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm happy to hear that there will be some Zoom options, especially if we're dealing with the community or parents or anything like that, because I think we may have better attendance if we make it a little bit more convenient as opposed to asking people to come in the building.
Absolutely.
So I'm definitely glad to hear that. I don't think I have anything else. Anyone else? Good? Okay, thank you so much for your time and for coming tonight to our meeting to present. We look forward to the equity audit and hearing what you find here.
Thank you. I look forward to speaking with you soon. Have a great night, everyone. Take care.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the proposed public comment disclosure. So Dr. Renda, I don't know if you want to.
So we took made an attempt at this. So here is the proposed disclaimer, and we are certainly open to suggestions, but public comment is not a time for debate or response to comments by the school committee. Comments made I'm sorry?
I think it was just feedback. I don't think anyone said anything.
Oh, sorry about that. Comments made at public comment do not reflect the views or positions of the school committee. No criticism of school personnel will be permitted at such meetings. Citizens will have 3 minutes to express their views on the topics posted on the meeting agenda. The chairperson may make exceptions to the guidelines in this paragraph at his/her discretion. So there was one part of this that I had a question about because it wasn't in the policy, and when we get to the first read of the policy, we can talk about it then, but the fact that are we only going to accept public comment on items on the agenda, or do we want to leave it open to any comment that a citizen of Air Shirley would like to make?
Jim?
Yeah, I did address that in some of my changes, so let me give you the other ones and the reasoning behind it. Let's see, public comment is not a time for debate or response by the school committee. And I just thought that 2 comments by the school committee kind of interjected us, so I think we can get rid of that 2 comments just before the school committee. Comments made at public comment do not reflect the views or positions of the school committee. Since we were not commenting, I just got rid of that entire line, okay? We're just listening. No criticism of the school personnel is permitted. I just ended it at that. The next sentence was okay, except citizens will have 3 minutes to express their views on the topics posted on the meeting agenda, and school committees will not respond unless to ask questions to clarify comments as presented. So we can't get into a back and forth with the people, but if there are areas where we don't understand their questions, we can probe to find out exactly what they're talking about, but we won't really engage them other than that. And then I added an additional sentence that said, potential topics for future school committee meetings may be offered. So they could, if there were particular areas that they wanted to address, they could put it forward, and then the superintendent and the chair could decide whether or not to put that on a future school committee meeting. That's all I had.
Okay,
Anybody else?
perfect.
We'll let Erica go.
Okay, so in listening to that, I know that there are instances where we get questions during public comment. Like I want to say, I think it was last month at a meeting when a parent asked about COVID-19 regulation. So I don't think we should definitively say we're not going to answer things, because there is a chance there might be, you know, even if we say we reserve the right not to answer, something like that, because I don't think we want to make a definitive statement that we're not going to answer something, and then we have a situation where we do actually need to address something. I think, you know, everything else seemed okay, but that particular thing, I just don't think we want to back ourselves into a corner where we're not answering something that could simply be dealt with in the meeting.
So if I may, I don't think we are. I think because the last sentence says that the chair may make exceptions to these guidelines, that last sentence really does give us the leeway to answer some. The reason I brought this up is because public comment has typically been a back and forth, and though it has not been an issue yet, it could get to the point where it may be. So questions about COVID protocols are fairly usually easy to answer, but there could be times when there is a comment that's really just meant to disrupt what is a business meeting of the school committee. So we want to make sure that, I'm looking at it the opposite way. We want to have the right to make sure that we're not necessarily going to spend the entire meeting in a back and forth with somebody with an agenda. So I think we can answer some of those simple ones in the moment. The other part of this, but I think it's probably the more in the policy than in the disclosure, is whether or not we want to cap the public comment like to 30 minutes or something. That would be another way to kind of not allow people who may just want to disrupt the meeting for that to happen if you cap it at a certain amount. Did that make sense?
Yes,
I'm a bit foggy, so I'm struggling.
That's all right. No, the way you wrote it was fine. It was one of the corrections that I heard that maybe I misheard, but there was something in there that sounded very definitive in the correction, not what you had written here, Adam. I just want to make that clear. So I completely understood where you were coming from, but you do have a point that because we do have the disclaimer at the bottom, I think the only thing that I was looking for, I wasn't sure where we would place it, maybe in the very beginning, was exactly what you just said, where you said that the school committee meeting is a business meeting, because again, a lot of people are not aware of that, so I think if that's kind of the first thing we put in front of them, that would be very helpful to the public.
Did Joyce have a comment?
Okay.
There was quite a few things here that, went back and forth, and I liked, was reading the mask policy and bringing some of those things in. So on number 3, speakers must begin their remarks by stating their name and address, residence. I don't know that the affiliation is necessarily a requirement. It's probably a good idea to if they're a parent or if they're a business person in town or a few other things, that can be commenting on stuff.
I got a point of order clarification.
Pardon?
I just want to say, the policy is later on in our agenda.
Yeah,
I think we're just going through the comment now, just to try to move forward. We will get to that.
Oh, I thought we were doing it all together.
No.
I was doing it all together.
So I think, I'm going to jump in and then I'll let you go, Chris. I think I would agree with Eric. I'd like to see something that says, maybe even just the first sentence of our policy. All regular, special meetings of the Shirley Regional School Committee shall, no, forget it, that's not what I want to say. I just would like it to say something about the fact that our meeting is a business meeting and not a back and forth. There's a thing that Newton has in their policy, and maybe I can save this for when we discuss our policy, but it's one sentence they have in here I think is pretty good, and it says that public comment is not a discussion, debate, or dialogue between citizens and the school committee. It is a citizen's opportunity to express an opinion on issues of school committee business. The committee may respond to public comment by taking it under consideration when deliberating on an agenda item or referring an issue to the administration for appropriate action or response. And I really like that because I feel like it kind of, gives a good overview of what, this is going to be. It's not a back and forth time. It's really a time to kind of hear what the citizen has to say, but so I really like that and just wanted to throw that out there. And I can share that with whoever, if the school committee likes it. Go ahead, Jim.
I would say either that statement or this, try not to make it too large, but I think that, how you always are forced to read our disclaimer about taping and the rest of that. I think that should be added too, because really anybody looking at the agenda, everybody here knows how the school committee works, how the meeting is held, but anybody looking at the agenda wanting to speak is, if they pull the agenda up online, they're going to see that statement on there, and I think that will help. So I think either that statement or this trimmed up is a good thing to add to the agenda.
So adding it to the top of the agenda, but not necessarily reading it all the time. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think you need to read it.
Yeah,
I think
probably not,
as long as it's there, we're
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, because then if something comes up, we can refer back to it. But I'm just throwing that out there as language that I liked, that whether it's the disclosure or it's part of our policy, I think it's pretty good language for people to
Yeah, it's nice and
understand.
concise.
I would just echo the sentiments of the language you read from Newton. I will say that the draft, it reads a little hostile. And it feels like it's trying to define public comment by what it's not, instead of defining public comment. And so I think some language that is more sort of what public comment is, instead of language saying public comment isn't, and leaving people to fill in the blanks, would be slightly more welcoming. Personally, it'd be great if we heard a voice or two from the community during this time. So I think something that encourages some participation. So I think leading with the intent of public comment, certainly reserving the right for school committee not to be responsive, or being explicit that school committee is not expected to respond. I think the idea of capping it to 30 minutes feels reasonable. But I think some language like what you read, Michelle, would be really helpful to, again, say what our intent for the purpose of that time is, as opposed to saying what we're trying to avoid.
Well, of course, this is because of problems that many school
Absolutely.
districts had last year, so it's a knee-jerk reaction to that.
Absolutely.
Continue to
The
happen.
thing that I want to be mindful of, though, is that we don't swing a pendulum really reactive to things that
No,
have not
right,
been a thing
right.
here and potentially discourage. I think there's things that we can do to put in place that protect this meeting space without being combative. I think the thing I want to avoid is us being combative as a body.
Does anybody have a statement that's in the open meeting law? I don't. Because that would be interesting to see, you know, I think it's probably pretty mild that comment is based on what's on the agenda. I'm not sure.
I don't.
So you're saying, you're suggesting that the comments are, and I think that's the same thing Jim said, that they're based upon what's on the meeting.
Well, it's a business meeting, it is, you know, I think that's, I'd have to go look, I don't know.
So going forward, what we can do is we can make those, clean up that language as far as Mr. Quinty's recommendations. We can take the statement from Newman. We can offer each of those individually and maybe come up with a hybrid of the two and bring it to school committee next week.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Next week,
Great.
week after.
Okay.
Do you want me to send you Newton's language?
That would be fantastic, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, great, thank you so much. I assume we're good with this for now. We'll move on to further discussion when we get to the policy, but we'll move on now to the approval of substitute teacher rate increase. Mr. Plunkett.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We got a lot of input, feedback from our department heads and our principals about the difficulty in getting daily substitutes. And we're not alone, everybody's in the same boat. There's just nobody out there is available or they're already working. But we do want to make sure we're competitive, so we put together this table, the memo in item number 9C. We have 10 different districts in the area with their daily rates and the hours per day that they work if they made them available to us. Now, the Massachusetts minimum wage is scheduled to go up 75 cents the next to January 1st, so it would be $14.25 an hour this January 1, and then on January 1, 2023, it'll go to $15. So we'd like to keep pace with the minimum wage increases. You can see where we are. We're right in the middle of the pack. The average is $88.05 per day. Some of the days are a little bit longer or shorter. And it's a daily rate, so I think that's why you see some of the districts below the minimum wage. They can not get away with it, but that it's not tied to the minimum wage because they're making it a daily rate. So we would like to propose that at least for budgeting purposes that we keep pace with the minimum wage, and we would propose increases to $92.63 beginning January 1st, 2022, and then to $97.50 per day on January 1st, 2023.
Did you say that last number again, Bill?
$97.50
Thank you.
for the second year.
I'm assuming you don't care that it's ending in a 63 cents a day.
No.
Yeah, okay, we just make that 65.
I did too, I looked at it, that's right.
It's .65.
Round it up, or, yeah, just kind of move that up.
I know, I was wondering, do we just round it up to 93 a day?
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
95,
Somewhere,
I rounded up to
that's
65
not
and
63,
63.
yeah.
right? Doesn't seem
Sorry,
fair.
thank
Okay.
you.
I guess we're already paying $87.75, so we don't mind change.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's why we can't get in.
Well, then what does break it to, you know?
Just move up 37 cents, I think we'll all be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go to $93.
We're gonna give you a raise to 93.
yeah.
January 1st.
Is that worse for your accounting or better?
It really doesn't matter because 97% of our folks are direct deposit and we're not dealing with cash?
Not making change every day.
No.
We're not counting out the pennies, getting rolls from the bag.
Oh, no, no, nickels.
You don't have the payroll bag,
Yep. Bag of pennies.
leather on top.
Well, I'm sure you don't know this, but this is like gross pay. So what would like the tax implications on a person be? Do we know?
Well, it depends on what you have for deductions. Normally, federal is around 12%, depends on your exemptions. And then there's no Social Security in Massachusetts public employer, so we have Medicare, which is .0145. And then there's retirement, which is OBRA, which is 6.5% instead of Social Security. So that's basically the required deduction for a daily sub.
So 37 cents won't make a difference on those deductions either.
No.
All right, well, I'll leave it up to you guys if you want to keep it at 63 cents and bump up to 93, but sounds like it doesn't matter one way or the other.
I mean, I imagine part of the challenge is the pay, but I imagine that is not as, you know,
That's critical.
just like putting it out there and getting people aware that, like, Air Shirley Regional is hiring substitutes, like we want adults coming into the building to help students. I mean, I don't know, this.
We're actually not, I mean, we're middle of the road compared to.
We are.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, for budgeting purposes, I like the phase-in because this is for all of our daily subs, not just the teachers. It's for the food service, it's for custodians, it's for paraprofessionals, and childcare. So that's a pretty large pool there.
Yeah.
Roughly how many people?
About 100 people.
About 100 people.
Those groups together.
And typically, how many subs are we running? Do we have that broken out?
Well, like any typical day, we could be looking for 20 to 25 subs, so we might be filling at 60%, 65%.
You're getting 60%, 65%, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Just a little bit over half, yeah, we're filling.
Okay. All right.
A lot of
well-
times we're pulling paras, and that, has consequences too.
Okay.
But,
But these are also substitutes for paras too, right?
correct,
So
correct.
this is not just,
Do full-time subs exist?
What's that?
Full-time subs?
You have one in every building.
Yes, building-based subs, we do have one in each building. Paid for out of the grant, the CARES Act grants.
I love the idea of that, actually.
A lot easier to hire.
A lot of districts are doing that.
Yeah. And was it you that I was talking to when I was saying that I've been reading on the listserv that some districts don't even get subs at their high school? Was I telling you that?
No.
Yeah,
That's
they have their
interesting.
kids go to the auditorium or the, whatever, and if
That
there's
is
no
all.
sub, that's what they do. They haven't for years, certain districts haven't had subs at their high school level.
Oh, wow.
I know. Anyway, that's just an aside.
I think it'd be very difficult.
I don't know that we're recommending
That is a
There's
absolutely terrible practice.
Yeah, I would never recommend it. I just was
No,
shocked.
no,
to see
I
it.
know you weren't recommending it. I've seen that in action, unfortunately, and kids end up not coming to school. Because if they know that they have one or two teachers out, they realize they're gonna be in the cafeteria or the auditorium for a good portion of the day, and they don't go. And the other end of that is, as a parent, if you know your kid is going to be in the auditorium and cafeteria for the day, and they don't want to go to school, it's a pretty hard argument to convince yourself and them that they should go. So lots of schools are practicing that right now because of the shortest in subs, but really there's too much competition in the workforce for what the pay is. This is a great step forward. It alone certainly isn't going to solve the substitute issue.
Okay.
But it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Yep, good. All right, who wants to make a motion?
Are we making a motion at 90 at this, or we?
I'm gonna leave it up to the motioner. No pressure. Okay, don't all speak at
All right,
once.
I will make a motion that we adopt the daily rate that's been proposed by our business manager dependent on the hours that we're using, so that comes out to that rate. And I'll just leave it at that, starting January 1st, 2022, and then again in January 1st, 2023. get it on the floor.
So moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Thank you.
All set, thank you.
Step one, how's
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, well, okay,
That will
so,
be revisited.
that's it. So the next item on the agenda is item 10, policy review report. The policy tonight is proposed revisions to policy BEDH, public participation at school committee meetings. Dr. Renda.
Thank you. So we went through this and really just changed most of the language to say from public participation to public comment. One of the big additions was that the speaker must begin their remarks by stating their name, address of residence, and affiliation. The only other addition that I would add based on this meeting is to possibly cap it at 30 minutes. And that's really it. Any questions on the changes that we made? Any suggestions for edits?
I just had a question. When we're saying state residents, we're just saying the town. Is that correct? Because I want to be real clear on what that means.
I think that
That's it, right? So, Erica from AIR. school committee
Massachusetts,
member. Yeah.
We usually ask them to state their address in town.
And that is my concern. I
Mine as
don't
well.
like having someone have to give out their full address. That's why I was wondering if we can say, town of residence. That's just for me, for safety purposes. I just think that might be best.
Well,
Not
and
that I
for
expect it to be
transient
involved.
populations, like you want to be mindful of.
Yeah, just that's all I was thinking about.
There's no requirement that we know their street address, is there? Yeah, that's a good point. Joyce?
if you're speaking at town meeting, even though you have registered as a resident of that town when you come into town meeting, if you speak at town meeting, you must state your address.
Well, let me give you an example. I have had people stop by my residence because they didn't care for my remarks. So I don't think that is safe.
I would
Town
call that
meeting-
stopping by.
Right.
It's a polite way of saying it.
Right? So that is why I would say, in this forum, when we're talking about school, you have to go to a town meeting. Like, you have to actively get out there to do that. But I think in this forum, it would just be better to have town instead of their full address.
But we had people who showed up who did not state their address or their town. And it's, when it says address of residence, how else do you know if someone is really a resident of your district? Now, you could have people who have kids who are choiced in, and it would maybe, you could just say town, but we had that misinformation in this body last year. And it was very disturbing because the people were saying things, and Acton, of course, had the worst thing. They had people from Arizona and Utah and various other places coming into their meeting because of the Zoom factor.
Well, I get
To
that.
turn on Zoom, you don't have to be, you can be anybody.
I understand what you're saying, but I think because we're putting other parameters in place, I feel like having the actual residents put in there may be unnecessary, because we're saying we're not commenting back. We're already telling them we may not engage. So they really can't run anywhere in the meeting with that anymore. I guess I'm thinking that that's I don't know.
I would also assume that if someone is joining a school committee meeting with nefarious intent, they could, I can very easily, I live at 10 Main Street in Air. Like, I can say whatever I want. You're still going to get your 3 minutes. I think, again, for appreciating the fact that there are, at any given time, transient student populations, students with, home in transit. I'd want to be mindful of what we're asking community members. I think stating your town of residence and your affiliation should give us enough information.
So you'd leave affiliation in there?
Yeah, are you a citizen, business person, parent, student,
What
teacher?
school?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would give you, again, enough information to make some judgment about the comment that's being shared. And
sorry.
worst case scenario, like the 3 minutes is up and you move on, or then the 30 minutes is up and we move past it in the most uncomfortable or inappropriate situations.
I think I would just say too, Joyce, the difference that I see between someone speaking at our school committee meeting and someone speaking at town meeting is that that person at town meeting is actually voting on something under most circumstances. Here, it's just a comment that they're going to be making and not giving them any power to have any say over any of our decisions. They're not voting at our meeting. So I think that's a distinction that maybe, might not make much of a difference to, but it's important that, I think if we know where they live, what town they live in, and, that they're a parent of a student at Laura White, I think that's sufficient. Jim?
Well, adding, go
I,
ahead, Jim.
yeah, I echo the same sentiment. I mean, unfortunately, when you look at the news, we're reminded that lines are blurred, inappropriate behavior, and I think we should, if there's anything somebody making a comment, even if it's gonna be, heartfelt and it may be controversial, asking them to give up where they live is way over the top. I think if you put in your town of residence and affiliation, if not an Air or Shirley resident, so you might say, I'm the director of the MIAA, and I'd like to speak to, that sort of thing. And the chair, for the affiliation standpoint, has absolute control over whether they're going to allow them to speak or not. If they're an Air or Shirley resident, they're allowed to speak. But if they're not an Air or Shirley resident, then the chair is still going to be able to do it once they explain what their affiliation is. They could be a parent from Fitchburg, they could be anything, but that lays with the chair. But I think to ask someone to give their street address in today's age is just asking for a problem.
I mean, honestly, they're giving their town and their name, and anyone could
Well,
go
actually-
from that and figure out
Actually,
where they
the
live.
policy says name and city/town.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I think that's sufficient.
and
Okay,
they're
now
not
that
asking
we've
for their affiliation.
beat
and
that one.
Yeah.
seems a little disturbing to me.
I'm sorry, say that again, Joyce, what?
Well, when you have kids being moved around and stuff, I don't know how you would define affiliation, or if affiliation should be defined.
Affiliation to the school,
Well, it's not,
to
yeah,
the
but it's-
relevance,
but it's
that's
not-
my
it's not
interpretation, am I
defined.
wrong?
It's not, do you need to define it more? Do you need to expound on that, what you mean by that?
Or affiliation to the school, maybe just add the words to the school.
Okay.
To the district?
To the district.
So we will clean up that line to say town of residence, not address
Right,
residence, and affiliation to district.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Were there thoughts of, what were the thoughts of adding an additional line here that says, public comment will be limited to 30 minutes?
Agreed.
Great
That's what
idea.
we've been doing
Yes.
for the last year.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I missed some of that.
Everybody agreed with that.
Okay, so we'll add that in.
Yeah, because it's the
And you can
control of the.
expand it. If we wanted to, Michelle could
Right.
Michelle
give
could-
folks 90 minutes if.
No, we don't, no. We don't.
But only if Michelle wants to.
Michelle, for the next
Don't do it.
4 months. Jim, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the only other thing I changed is the change that I made under the first one, which was on topic 4, which is potential topics for future school committee meetings may be offered.
I would
Okay.
change that if it's for future subjects, that they should be addressed to the superintendent of schools.
I feel like having it here is fine, because that makes more work for them. If it's just introduced here, then at least it's on the table.
Well, and then we can say, yes,
Exactly.
we would
Because
like you to
I think
add
that's a
or-
lot for Adam to put on his shoulders. So just having it the way that
That's
Jim
why
has
he's
it.
in charge. He has big
Or for
shoulders.
parents, right? If I'm a parent, I show up on a Tuesday night at 6:30 and I'm like, hey, it'd be really great if you would consider X, Y, and Z. Then to be like, no, you need to go and email.
Right.
Must be posted.
I think the way that Jim has it is fine.
I'd rather have, Michelle here, you're taking notes. It's like, great, it's on the next agenda. And like you and Adam can figure out where it shows up.
Yeah, I think that's fine too. So I would add that, at least add that to the draft, and then we can probably discuss it again with the next read. And I would also ask that when you see the link that I sent both you guys with Newton's language, that language came right from their policy.
Yeah.
So it might be nice to add that language in here too, but I'll leave that to your discretion. I really like that language. I just feel like
You need to play, it's good.
it gives a good kind of sets the stage for what everybody's expecting. Okay, anybody else? Nope. Okay, so we're going to move on. Thank you, Dr. Renda, to the chairperson's notes, which I don't have any notes. Any other topics for discussion not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of this meeting? Anyone? No? Okay. Chris, guess what? Cheryl's not here. You're the communications boy.
All right. Thanks, Cheryl. All right. Announcements for December 7th, 2021. On Wednesday, the 8th, the Special Education Parent Advisory Council will be meeting at 7 o'clock on Zoom. That Thursday, December 9th, there's the vaccination clinic for children 5 to 11 years of age. Pre-registration for the clinic is required. The Board of Health is unable to accommodate walk-ins. Please see the weekly update sent out this past Monday and the district's website for more details. That'll be from 3 to 6 p.m. at the middle school. Monday, December 13th, report cards will be issued for grades preschool through 8, and progress reports will be issued for grades 9 through 12. December 14th, Tuesday, is a half day of school for grades preschool through 5 and evening parent-teacher conferences. Tuesday, December 14th is a PTO meeting at 7:15 for Laura A. White and 7:45 for the middle school in the library at the middle school. Wednesday, December 15th, half day of school for grades preschool through 5 and afternoon parent-teacher conferences. Thursday, December 16th, middle school band and guitar club concert, 7 o'clock at the Air Shirley Regional Middle School Auditorium. Wednesday, December 22nd, Page Hilltop Holiday Chorus Concert, 6 p.m. outside the Page Hilltop main entrance. Thursday, December 23rd, half day of school for grades preschool through 12. Dismissal times for high school and middle school, 11:20 a.m. Laura A. White and Page Hilltop, 12:15. Friday, December 23rd through Friday, December 30th, no school for the holiday vacation. Friday, December 30th, second dose COVID-19 vaccination clinic for children 5 to 11 years of age. Pre-registration is required. The Board of Health is unable to accommodate walk-in appointments. That'll be from 3 to 6 p.m. at the middle school.
Awesome, Chris. Thank you so much. Joyce?
Would someone, Dr. Minda, would it hurt to expound on how that pre-registration is done, how it's handled, what the procedure is? Is it done through the Board of Health, or is it done through our facilities?
There are... Go ahead, Dr.
The pre-registration for the vaccination clinic, there's a link that was set out in the weekly update. So if you click on the link and follow the steps, it should be fairly easy. I have not done it myself, but having pre-registered for some of these things like this in the past, it will walk you right through it.
So it's just done online and through that link?
And that was sent out yesterday, the weekly update, and we are going to post that link right to social media also, so that parents who might be having a hard time finding it will have it easily accessible.
It also looks like it's on the district website. Is that, yeah.
Is that valid?
Great.
They're way ahead of me. Sorry to post.
I didn't know who to ask.
All right. Great. Thank you. Jim, I'm sorry. I didn't see your hand.
Dr. Renda, is there I see the middle school at Page Hilltop are doing their holiday group. Is there one for the high school as well? A band concert and chorus?
There is. I do not have those details readily available, but Mr. Christie did tell me about it. They were going to do it in a couple of ways to keep things safe for people in the auditorium. I will get that information. I'll share it with the school committee through email tomorrow, but make sure that all parents have it too. Unless someone else at the meeting has more information than I do right now.
I do not.
Where's our high school rep?
I know. Okay, so Dr. Render, are we doing executive session, or would you rather wait until you're in person next meeting?
I would. Charlie sent a. I'm going to be on Charlie's laptop.
Okay.
So I would love to. I'd love to get it done and get those topics sent out to ASRSD.
Okay. All right, so then in that case, we are going to adjourn to executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Subsection A, Subsection 3, as an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the school committee. The committee will then return to open session for the sole purpose of adjournment. So I will entertain a motion to enter into executive session.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion to adjourn into executive session.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Moved and seconded. So we'll take a roll call. Michelle, can you call the roll for us, please? Sorry.
Mrs. Granger.
Aye.
Mr. Quincy.
Aye.
Mrs. Reshoots.
Aye.
Mr. Ruprecht.
Aye.
Ms. Span.
Aye.
Okay, so we are adjourned to executive session. Are we going to